All right, welcome back to the Ask Mama podcast. Tonight we will be discussing something a little different. I'm Melody Angel.
I'm Mama Stephanie.
And I'm Lamar.
Now, I have to give you a trigger warning because we will be discussing the heinous case of Sade Robinson. It should be the top story on every news station, but it's not, and we know why it's not, and we're not going to dive into that. But we are going to use this platform to focus in on this story and give her the respect that her life deserves, that she didn't get leaving this earth. And it's a very special segment or series, whatever you want to call it. But this will be the first episode of probably the next few episodes, as we will be following the case that has to do with her murder. Now, we're going to go through the timeline to give you an idea of what occurred here so you can follow along with the case along with us. So, first of all, this story started out as a missing. She was missing.
April 1st is the day of the date. Mm-hmm. And then the 2nd is when she was reported missing. One of her co-workers called because she didn't come to work April 2nd. Mm-hmm. And so the co-worker called and said, she's not here. You know, she was upset because this girl is always at work. She went to eat April 1st at a place called Twister Fisherman around 5:20. She left there at 6:24 p.m. Mm-hmm. Then they went to a place called Duke's, and they stayed there till 9 and left. She sent a Snapchat to the same friend that reported her missing on the 2nd. And then the last time they got a ping from her phone was at 12:45 at Anderson's home.
Loved ones say that Sade vanished. The 19-year-old woman was last seen at her home in the Brewers Hill neighborhood. And then Robinson's family said they found her car torched near 30th Street and Lisbon Avenue. That same day, someone spotted a human leg by the water in Warmont Park in Cudahy. Now, I don't know if I'm saying these names right. This is in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
okay?
In Milwaukee.
So, first she was missing. Mm-hmm. They couldn't really get this, massive, media attention on it.
Right.
So the people that she knew, her family and friends, they went out searching for her, right? Somebody saw the car, found the car. So now things look way worse, right? Mm-hmm. So April 3rd, the next day, investigators search a home near 39th Street and Oklahoma Avenue in Milwaukee. They took the homeowner, Maxwell Anderson, into custody, calling him a person of interest, and classified the leg discovery as a homicide investigation. So, Maxwell Anderson is who we allegedly believe unalived Sade Robinson.
Yes.
Okay? Now, Maxwell Anderson is, come to find out, he's the guy that was last with Sade because they went on a date.
Right.
Okay? So he was the last person to see her alive.
Yep.
Got to remember that. Anderson was arrested April 4th, so the very next day. 2 days after a leg believed to belong to Robinson was found by a passerby down a bluff at Warmont Park along Lake Michigan. Mm-hmm. The leg had been severed just below the hip. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God, y'all.
This is awful.
So now that was April 4th. They arrest him. April 5th through the 7th, so this is over the weekend, police found more body parts over 3 straight days near 31st Street and Galena Street in Milwaukee. April 9th, Anderson made his first court appearance but has not been formally charged yet. A court commissioner ordered Anderson to remain in custody an additional 72 hours. That timeline expired Friday morning. So for those who don't know, that 72 hours is like basically something that police get to try to gather as much evidence as they can before they let this person go.
Right.
Or before they decide to really charge them with a crime.
Yes.
So the timeline expires. Hours later, Robinson's family did their own search of Warmont Park and told WISN 12 News they found a bone. So then we jump to April 26th. Search for Sade Robinson's remains continues in Milwaukee while key questions of the case linger and suspect Maxwell Anderson seeks a trial. So at that point, he is their lead suspect, and they charge him for the murder. And the suspect, Maxwell Anderson, pleads not guilty to charges and asks to go to trial. Prosecutors believe Anderson met Robinson for a date April 1st, then killed and mutilated her. Body parts believed to belong to Robinson have been found at various locations around Milwaukee County after she was reported missing. Blood was found at Anderson's home, but did not match Robinson's DNA. But it was so much of it that they had to consider it a part, maybe it was a part of the case. So we'll have to get into that, because why would somebody have all that blood?
Yeah, they're going to find out.
That didn't belong to them.
Exactly. It didn't belong to either one of them.
So blood was found, and the judge decides to keep him in custody on a $5 million bond. So he's in jail. Maxwell Anderson is 33 years old, and he appeared in court being charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. So 3 charges. Anderson waived his right to a preliminary hearing. He's due back in court May 16th. Now, waiving your right to a preliminary hearing is kind of crazy, because in a preliminary hearing, you could try to see if you could get it thrown out so you could go home. But he wants to go to trial. So he already crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
Because you go for, why wouldn't you try to get out?
Exactly.
And then it's like he wants the trial. And crazy psychopaths love this type of attention.
That's right.
And that's why I believe that he's pushing forward or trying to push forward the actual case. Now, other things that occurred during this timeline, community members and the Robinson family have been very outspoken in criticism of law enforcement's investigation into the case. Among the criticisms is that early on, community members found a blanket of Robinson's in an area police had already searched, and that so far, many of her remains have been located by community members.
That's right.
Not the
Volunteers.
police.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay? Milwaukee County Sheriff's Public Information Officer told the Journal Sentinel that there have been dozens of searches. The search is ongoing, he said. It's consistent. It's constant. It's daily. Why would you say the same thing 3 times? That sounds like a liar.
Right.
Well, the volunteers.
Why you gotta say it all the time?
The volunteers
in different
found
ways.
They found everything, so
Yeah,
I don't know
I
what
mean,
he's talking about.
Yeah.
In areas that they said, people, listen, police are trained, okay? They're trained to do these types of searches.
Yes.
So you're saying you searched an area and you didn't find anything, and then layman's, regular people went there and found remains.
They found it all.
So, you know, that's not good. Now, maybe this is an important moment to mention also that Maxwell Anderson's father is a millionaire.
Yes.
That lives
Now.
I don't know where he lives now.
he live
but
in Milwaukee.
Well, he lives in Florida now. In Florida now he does.
Right, okay.
But he did live in Milwaukee.
Well, they're
because he
from
went to
there and
school
everything,
there.
but this boy, this man, this 33-year-old man, Maxwell Anderson, is a rich, privileged young person.
Yes.
Yeah, he
Okay?
is.
Yes.
Who is Caucasian.
Yes.
So that is definitely a big part of this story, because I feel like there's so much hubris in his I'm not guilty, no preliminary
Bring it on.
hearing, bring it on, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And, that's the vibe so far, okay? I just want to make sure we're mentioning everything. Also, it was announced that even though the blood was not Robinson's, the criminal complaint against Anderson initially said blood was found throughout his home, on bedding in a bedroom, on a stairwell to the basement, in unspecified locations. The complaint didn't say the blood was Robinson's, but the mention led to many to believe it was connected to the case. Then the complaint was amended with this footnote. Complainant knows that preliminary testing of the blood was done by the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, and that the preliminary DNA analysis supports the conclusion that there is no support for inclusion of Robinson's DNA in any of the blood or swabs tested. And of some of those swabs, Robinson's DNA is excluded. Ball said the sheriff's office doesn't have information about who the blood belongs to, which is a lie.
Right.
I mean, obviously, they know who the blood belongs to. So, because, well, they might not know specifically who, but I'm saying they know that it doesn't belong to him or her.
Right. They know that.
It belongs to somebody else.
It could be a missing person it belonged to.
Exactly, which is why a lot of people are calling him the Milwaukee Serial.
Yeah. No telling.
Unaliver.
Yeah. When asked, Kent Laverne, the chief deputy to District Attorney John Chisholm, also said he doesn't have information on whose blood was found. He largely deferred to comments made in court Monday by Assistant District Attorney Ian Vance Cruzen, and declined to commit due to it being a pending court case. So he blew off the question. It indicates that the preliminary DNA supports the conclusion that there is no support for inclusion of Robinson's DNA. They just keep saying, the same thing over and over again and passing it off. When asked why they even mentioned the blood to begin with, knowing that it wasn't her blood, and Ball said, because we didn't know where she was killed and there was a significant amount of blood, so we wanted to make sure our bases were covered. Where's all the...
It just... Something is amiss here.
This is the other thing that occurred, though, during this time. Maxwell Anderson's house has been searched twice by the police. Community members have said Anderson's father, Stephen Anderson, has been at the son's home on the south side of Milwaukee and took photos that show a man appearing to remove items from the property last week. So community members are saying they saw the father take things out of the house. The Journal Sentinel was unable to identify the man that saw this. He didn't come forward, I guess, or, and attempts to reach Anderson's father have been unsuccessful. So the father is not talking to the media. Ball said there would be nothing wrong, and Ball is one of the police, said there's nothing wrong with Anderson's father entering the home once it was released as a crime scene.
Yeah. Well,
So they're saying that it was released,
was
and that's
quick.
why. And Burnett said that at no point, aside from when the house was being searched via search warrant on 2 occasions, was the home closed off to the Anderson family. So even when they were doing the search warrant, they still could go in and out of the house.
Crazy.
Which
That's
is
crazy.
bizarre.
Very.
I mean, that's nuts.
Because they know where everything is. You don't.
Exactly.
They could come up just real
Sneakily and just take something and go.
How would you know?
That
You
house-
don't know where everything is.
No.
Exactly.
It should still be under.
That is
You're
so
right.
weird.
And that's what I wanted to know. Why are they allowing for the house to be so wide open
That's
and accessible?
crazy.
But to
Whoever
the
wants
family,
this- yeah.
I mean,
Not this
obviously
soon.
it's the law, technically, but I've never heard of anybody walking through a house with the police there doing a warrant search
No.
That's
and being
crazy.
allowed to take stuff in and
That's
out.
absurd.
So yeah, he said that was fine. They asked if the home was considered a crime scene. Burnett said, but it's not. That's an interesting question. I'm not going to say that. The home was part of this criminal investigation. So they're saying it's not the crime scene, which I actually think it might not be, because once we get into talking about the date, then we can try to go through that.
Yes.
And then on April 18th, Anderson's father released a statement addressing the Robinson family.
Yeah.
He says, on behalf of myself and my family, I would like to express our deepest sympathy and heartfelt condolences to the family and loved ones of Sade Robinson. We are shocked and devastated by her senseless death. Stephen Anderson wrote in a statement released by the attorney firm representing Maxwell Anderson. Steve Anderson ended the statement by asking the media to respect his family's privacy.
No. What
We
privacy?
will not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to just tell you.
That's
No.
a lot of nerve.
It is.
We shall not.
No.
No.
Is that afforded to Sade?
No.
Because everybody out here that's against this whole thing is picking her life apart. Why shouldn't his be picked
Yeah,
apart?
exactly.
It should be. They
Okay.
raised a monster.
Definitely.
I don't want to get into that yet. So now that we've laid out what we know, right? So Maxwell Anderson, his next court date, since he, said he didn't need the preliminary,
No.
he wants to get right to it, right?
Yep.
Is May 16th. So now we can kind of go back to April 1st.
Yeah. Now, one weird thing that happened is her mom said that on April 1st at about 4:45, her daughter sent her a text asking for $15. And her mother said that was really strange because her daughter didn't need money. She never asked for money, and she thought that was very strange that she asked her for $15. But 4:45 was before the date even happened. So I don't really know what that meant unless I don't understand that. But her mom was adamant about her calling at 4:45 asking for $15. And that was the last message her mom got. And then they have something on their phone called the 360 app. Do you all know what that is?
Heard of it.
It is something that monitors where you are, and families have it on their phone, which was good because the friend had that too. And that's how she knew where she was, and that the last ping on her phone was at, like I said, 12:45 on the morning of
Well,
the
the
second.
police know way more than that. Your phone is a GPS. You don't have to make a call or do anything on your phone. The police actually found out that her phone goes to all the date locations, but also to the river and back, and to the river and to this guy's house. And so they literally, I don't know if he just forgot to take the phone out, or it was in the car that he was driving, or whatnot, because there's really no way to even tell if she drove her car to his house or
He drove
if
it.
he
Who knows?
drove her. He could have drugged her. I mean,
Drove her
because
car.
let's understand something. She was dismembered.
Right.
So, they could still run toxicology, but we don't know what was in her system yet because they haven't released that information. If they can even get it from what's left of. I mean, I think you can still get it depending on what. It's so hard to
I don't
talk about.
know.
But if a toxicology report can't be done, he could have simply, this is what I believe or think may have occurred. He could have drugged on the date. He has now access to her phone, her wallet, her keys.
Yeah.
So if the car was at his house, he could have drove it. He could have drove her with his car, come back, got her car. It wasn't that far. They were in the same neighborhood in which this man lives. Any of those things could have occurred.
Yeah.
Once he did what he did, and took her to the river, all these different parts of the river where he was literally,
Dropping
leaving
off.
pieces of her around the city, around the river,
The lake. rather.
the lake. He could have definitely done that. And so, because we don't know what occurred here, how she got to his house, I really resent the people that are out here, disparaging her. 19 years old, saying that, she shouldn't have went back to his place. Of course, we know this. But we don't know how she got back to the
circumstances for her.
house.
Certainly don't.
Right? And so I'm not about to jump to conclusions and just say, yeah, of her own validity, she went back to his house.
don't
How
know
do
that.
you know that?
And-
It's amazing how much people assume things.
Okay, and if she did go back to his house on her own validity, so what? You know what I mean?
If she did, that was a mistake of a young person that's 19 years old that was put on the spot. Let's just say hypothetically that she did. When you're young, first of all, you don't think nothing bad can happen to you.
Right.
Second of all, sometimes, especially with girls, they feel pressure with guys, especially if a guy's older. They want
Right.
to seem like they're mature enough for the guy when they're older. Because I dated an older guy when I was 19. And so I know that I was very I was trying to act more mature than I was.
Yeah.
Because he was older. And so just putting myself in that mindset, I could see even her being manipulated in that way to think
Absolutely.
that this was what adults do, right?
Yeah, and then on top of that, this guy is a predator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he knows exactly everything and anything to do to make you feel comfortable. Because
Exactly.
she might have felt comfortable enough to say, well, you know what, why not?
Right.
For a nightcap.
Yeah, maybe
it might not have been anything where it was like, okay, well, let's go back to your house and, engage in some sexual activity. It could have been, let's go back to my place for, a drink or, whatever.
Or I want to show you something. I want to show you this
or-
thing I got, or whatever.
Right.
I mean, there's so many different excuses.
could have been
but
anything.
those
It could have
are.
been anything.
But my point is, we don't know.
We don't.
So
No.
I really don't like how everybody is just running with it. It's amazing to me that something this horrific can happen to a person, a black woman, and what you want to focus on is the negatives, any negatives you can find about her decision making, as opposed to the sick and vile things that occurred in her last moments of life.
Right.
Instead of focusing our attention on the leading suspect in her murder, you know what I'm saying? Let's stay on track.
Right.
Let's stay on the things that we know. We just spent the first half of this show laying out the facts. That's all we're gonna do here. And then we're gonna throw in our opinions, but our opinions that we're making about this man is based on facts.
Right.
Based
Yeah.
on evidence.
That's right.
This man went out with this woman.
Excuse me.
And she was never seen again.
There you go.
And
And then body parts were found all over the area in which he lives.
On display.
Yeah.
For people to find.
And-
I'm sorry, I
go
don't mean to
ahead.
cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But it baffles me that the cops weren't finding what type of shot? What? I don't understand what type of shoddy police work is going on.
It
in Milwaukee
unnerves
right
me
now.
that they're the ones gathering all the evidence at this point, because they have not filled us with a lot of conviction, and I just don't know how good they are at their jobs. Really,
Obviously
if you want me
not
to just
very.
say it just don't sound like you got regular people finding evidence that you're supposed to have found.
And another fact is he drove her car. Matter of fact, he drove her car, set it on fire, and they have a picture of him not getting in his car after that, but getting on the bus.
So
Yes.
that's
So-
what. So that takes me back to us
Yes.
not knowing how she got to his
You
house in the
don't
first
know.
place.
Exactly.
He could have stopped on. They could have left the restaurant together. Him driving, her driving. My car stopped. Can
Yeah.
you take me home?
Could have been
You
anything.
never know
Right,
how
and
he
then-
got her there.
Exactly. And
Right.
and the thing is, he literally could have drugged her at the restaurant.
Could
Right.
have.
And just drove her car to his house, went back, got his car. I mean, anything can happen. You can
Yeah.
walk back and forth. This
He-
is not a big town.
Yeah.
Right.
Milwaukee is not big like that.
No.
He drove her car and burned it up and
Right.
got on the bus.
So why wouldn't it be believable that he drove her car initially to his home?
Could have.
He could have. So
We don't know.
I would like to add a little bit of context to the timeline from
Yeah.
after they left the bar on Water.
Okay.
Okay, so at 9:24, a neighbor's camera spot two people entering Anderson's backyard. Okay, then at 12:47 a.m., so that was 9:24 p.m. at night. 12:47 a.m., a street camera shows Robinson's car depart Anderson's home. A camera at Cudahy High School saw a car drive toward the pump house at Warnemont Park at 2:53 a.m. Okay? A figure is seen walking from the road and climbing down the bluff to the beach several times. In between that time, 2:53 a.m., and then 4:31 a.m., the car leaves the park.
See?
Yeah.
Her car probably.
And the
Her car.
GPS shows it was her car. That's why I'm saying, like, so if she was no longer with us,
then
how was she driving her car back and forth?
She
Because
wasn't.
see, another thing that we
he
have
wasn't.
not
She
been
wasn't.
privy to, but the coroner will know after the autopsy is when she passed away. Just because she was dismembered, the time in which she passed away, you can see that through the blood.
Yeah.
It's like the blood clotting or whatever. Like it has a lot to do. It's very scientific, but they can still tell in a roundabout time of when she passed on. And so that is really going to help explain the timeline even further
Right.
once we get into the case, because now it's like, okay, she was already gone. How was she driving her car back and forth? And how are you saying you weren't the one driving it?
Right.
and let's say allegedly, if he did kill her in the car, he done burned up all the evidence, right? Everything's burned up.
Yeah, well, I mean, he may have unalived her in the car.
Right.
However, the dismemberment happened somewhere, and the police have not found that location.
My
Because
God.
if it was his home, there would be evidence.
Yeah.
Because the amount of blood
Yeah.
would not, and if some other blood was all over the house, then hers
on.
definitely would have still been at the house, because he
Absolutely.
didn't
Would.
clean up after whatever that was. Okay. And we will have to get deeper into that as information arises. I
Right.
hope that they will tell us that they found out who the other blood belongs to, because that could be another case.
And he also had a 5-by-6-foot grave
Yes.
dug up in the backyard.
Yeah.
So again, getting back to the house being open, what if his backyard is a cemetery? Who knows, allegedly.
Well, the thing with that is they probably will have to look into it, but usually when you do a warrant of a house, they'll have dogs, and dogs can smell remains. So if there was something else in the backyard, they would have smelled it. I believe he dug that hole initially as his first thought, like, I'm just going to bury her.
Yeah.
And then he decided, no, because I'm real sick, I'm going to cut her up and spread her around the lake.
Which makes me believe that he unalived her at his home and then transported
That's what I'm saying.
her
And then
in
did
the
something.
car
Yeah.
and took her to that pump house. And I believe that's where he dismembered her.
Wow. It
And
would
then
be
started
blood.
to scatter.
Okay, what's the pump house? What are you saying?
So
he stopped at the pump house.
He was driving toward the pump house at 2:53 a.m.
What is the pump house, though?
It's I'm assuming that it's like a water pump house that's associated with the Warnermont Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's over there
Okay.
by the water.
I'm just
By the
trying to
lake.
figure out, so it sounds secluded.
Right.
Some way you could have privacy, because that's why I'm saying, like, to do what he allegedly did, you would definitely need privacy.
Yeah.
Just because the sound of the saw.
Right. And if he did do that there, the police already know he was there. They would check it. What happened to all that blood if allegedly it was there?
It sounds like the
But-
Milwaukee police
Right.
is
It's suspect right now. I
yeah.
don't know. And that's the thing that makes me nervous about how this is all going to play out, because if they can't even gather basic evidence like
Right.
this, but I think that I will say, when a light is being shined on your investigation, I think they're gonna have to hop too, because they know if
Yes.
they don't, they getting fired.
Yeah.
Like it's
they-
gonna be a new sheriff and new deputy and
Yes.
new assistant deputy.
Yeah.
All of these little acronyms will be gone
Yes.
and replaced, because now once again, social media has risen to the occasion and proven why there's good and bad.
Yeah.
This is the good, because nobody was covering this story until a whole bunch of black women got on TikTok and Instagram saying her name, Sade Robinson. Sade Robinson. Did y'all hear about Sade Robinson? We looking for Sade Robinson. I mean, we were on it from the jump, like we are always. And now it's a story. Now it's, on their local news and on some, have you seen it on our news in Chicago?
No.
It's still not a national story. And I find it so crazy that it's not, when this is one of the most horrific.
It's right here. Yeah.
Murders that has happened in the Midwest.
Really is.
They're calling him the next Dahmer.
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's hard for me because we know why it's not getting the attention it deserves, because she's not a white woman. And don't just leave it to me, because I've seen a lot of white women on TikTok say the exact same thing. So it's not always black and white, but this is.
And, like you say, the police, I didn't see any cadaver dogs.
That's what
I didn't see any on any videos, no clips. I didn't see them in any of the reports that they had them.
That don't mean that they only need one dog that they can walk to the. I'm saying, like, protocol is to at least have one dog sniff out, because they can sniff remains.
Right.
So if they found a hole, they definitely had a dog come in there to sniff out if anything else was under there.
I hope. If they left the house open for family members to come in and out of while they were doing an investigation.
That's crazy.
And it really speaks to the Milwaukee police.
Very strange.
And the politics of the city, because we saw this in the Jeffrey Dahmer case, because that was in Milwaukee as well.
Yeah.
Where those residents were, calling about this putrid smell.
You got that right.
That had encompassed this whole mid-rise building.
That's right.
And because it was in a low-income building in a black section of the town, they allowed for him to just run rampant and do what he wanted to do.
And don't forget how one of the victims was outside screaming for help.
Yes.
And they sent him back.
Yes, they did.
To the house.
Yes, they did.
With that man.
Yeah.
So good God Almighty.
There's a lot to this. There's a lot of things. I think for me, I'm trying to stay optimistic, because if they don't do their job, this man is going to get away with this. Period. Because
that would be awful.
I believe that there's ample evidence here to suss out and to use for a conviction. But they have to do their job properly. Nothing can get thrown out because they mishandled things. So there's a lot up in the air with this case. And one of the things that really kind of unnerved me was Maxwell Anderson's lawyer, who said when he was in court, basically telling the judge they don't want the preliminary hearing, when he was getting sentenced for his to remain in custody and the bond hearing, I guess. He said, when he was issuing his thing of not guilty, he said, he's not guilty. Wouldn't a guilty person flee? And he stayed right in town. And I'm just like, why would he flee, sir? He's a rich white man,
right,
who believes he got rid of the body. And so, of course, he's going to go on about his day, who is also, if he did this, a psychopath.
He certainly is.
So why would he leave his home? He was probably just sitting up thinking of who to do to next.
There you go.
And that was the thing I was going to say.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
That's your defense?
Exactly.
Wow.
And
he didn't flee.
The seriousness and the heinousness of the crime that was committed against this poor young lady. it seems like you don't go from 0 to 6,000 overnight.
No.
She was probably not his first victim.
No. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, of course, I've gotten away with it before. So why would I flee? I didn't flee at other times.
And it's a little weird that the father, being a millionaire, didn't post bond. That's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that about?
Yeah. If you don't feel safe with your own son,
I bet he's like, you ain't coming to my house.
Hey.
Then you better not pay that bond.
Yeah.
Baby.
Right.
he probably just don't want to take the chance.
Yeah, I know he
Because he
couldn't
don't
sleep
trust
with me.
them either.
Yeah. And that's why he moved to Florida and left him there.
Yeah, I
He
don't
bought him
blame
a
him.
house and
Right.
said, here.
They're
Now, you
going about your
stay
business
on
now.
over there.
Right.
And I mean, you get a good look at this. Now, let me just say this, too. I wanted to mention this. Sade went to a school that was very diverse. And when you go to a school that's diverse, it's not unnatural or weird for you to date whoever, like, or to be comfortable, not even date, but be comfortable around other races.
That's right.
It's only people who like, oh, my school was black or my school was all white.
Right.
You know, that's when sometimes as an adult, your interactions are different.
Yeah.
They're limited.
But when you go to school with a lot of different people, you're comfortable around a lot of people. So, because a lot of people were like, oh, she went out on this date, you know, this, that. She didn't necessarily have a preference. It was just a date.
Yeah.
It was just a first date. I've never gone out with a white guy before, but I have gone out with a Puerto Rican. I've gone out with a native. I've gone out with, what was it? Indian of some kind of descent.
Middle Eastern.
But what I'm saying is, because I went to college and I was around a whole lot of different kind of people, so it was regular. It wasn't outlandish.
Yeah.
Right.
I do want to say, her mother has a GoFundMe. I'm gonna try to find the link. If I find it, it will be in the description below this video if you're watching it on YouTube, or it'll be in the description if you're listening on Spotify. But she does have a GoFundMe for her funeral arrangements and memorial and things of that nature. So if you can give to that, please be sure to do so. This is, her mother is 43 years old. Her birthday just passed.
It was. Matter of fact, it was April 27th.
Her birthday passed not too long ago. I mean, this woman is young.
Yeah.
And to lose your baby
My God.
like this
And
it's a horrific thing. And we saw her speak on the Nancy Grace show.
yeah.
And it was just heart-wrenching.
Her name
Yeah,
is
it really was.
Sheena Scarborough, and she had her baby on Mother's Day. She
Sure
had
did.
that baby on Mother's Day.
Her
Sade.
Mother's Day present and her birthday present.
Yep.
What I want to know, what I really could not get a solidified answer to, was how they initially met.
Actually, I heard in the police statement, they had a police, you know how they have the thing on TV, it was in Wisconsin. And somebody asked that, and the police said they were not sure, but they think she met him at his job because he was a bartender.
Yeah, at that place
He
The,
worked.
the seafood place.
what's it called?
No,
it's
the place he worked when this was his last job. I can't remember the name of it, but
Yeah, because the thing about it is, regardless of the place, the thing was when this first came out that it was an online date. And everybody was
It
just
wasn't.
like, oh my God, another online date going wrong because it's so
prevalent,
scary, and a lot of bad things are happening on these online dates. But really, what it comes down to is dating in general. It's a terrifying thing.
Yeah.
It's at this point, dating for me used to be recreational.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to have a good time, I'd be like, all right, yeah, let's go out and have a good old time. Well, but now I'm like, I don't really know if I feel like putting my life on the line tonight.
Because it really is kind of Russian roulette. You don't know what you're
really
getting.
is.
Sure
And
don't.
people be looking regular as all get out and will say something to you and you be like, oh, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
And you looking at the exits like, uh-oh.
Oh, you nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm under the table with my phone texting somebody like, help, 911.
Yeah. You
Like,
sure better.
You better.
Meet me up here.
But
Oh, my God.
one good thing is that she did let her friend know. Her friend knew she was going out.
Yeah.
She texted her, that evening, and she tried to cover herself. Like I said, they had that something called the 360 app, which shows people in her family where her phone is. So
Yeah.
it's a tracking
Yeah.
type
It's like
thing.
sharing your location.
Right.
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah.
everybody can do it.
So even that was good. That
It
she
makes
had
you
enough
feel
sense
safe.
to
Yeah.
do that.
You know that people know where you are. And I think that also can hurt us though, because
Oh.
there's nothing you don't know that something's wrong. So even if I know exactly where you are, that doesn't mean I think something terrible is happening
Yeah.
to you. You're at a bar. I wouldn't think anything of that.
Right.
You're in the neighborhood in which you live. I wouldn't think anything of that either.
Right.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just feel like, regardless of the details of what occurred after this date, the point is, this dude did something terrible
He did.
to her. There was nobody else. You give me another. So let me get this straight. What we would have to believe, if we don't believe that Maxwell Anderson is the one who
Allegedly.
did it,
Okay.
if we don't want to believe that yet, you're telling me you went out on a date. You went from location to location. The GPS shows that
right.
you went to this man's house. You went back and forth from a river to your car, from a river to your car, and then you were never seen again. And you're saying some other man or other person then found you and did all of this to you, and this dude had nothing to do with it.
Please.
That don't even make,
Please.
I can't make that math ain't math.
Please.
Right.
That
And they-
GPS ain't GPS.
Right.
No, it is not.
and they got you coming from where the car was burned up on a bus,
Right.
a public transportation
Right.
bus. Your face, backpack, all your stuff on you.
I mean, they got. I mean, and
And so there
and
was
that's-
another invisible man
Right.
that came.
and it looks just like you. And what I
No.
do appreciate is the surveillance around the city.
Yeah,
and
they
the
got
buses
it.
that we
Yeah.
have. That we
Thank
have, that
God.
we're privy to. Thank God.
And that's what I mean when
Yeah.
I say, when we talk about social media, we're also just talking about technology. And technology, like anything else, there's good and bad to it.
Yeah.
Right.
But when it's good, it can turn the tide on a horrible situation.
It sure
Because we
can.
would be nowhere if we didn't have GPS,
Would
if we
not.
didn't have those video cameras
That's right.
on them buses.
That's right.
That's true.
So
That's right.
it's just like they're life-saving things. They changed the
Right.
course of this whole investigation.
They sure did.
Technology did. And technology had the biggest hand in getting this case to move forward
That's
Right.
right.
because of social media. So it's just so much that we have to look at in this situation. But obviously, I think what really gets me is that you never know what's gonna happen.
No.
Right.
You never know what decision you make is gonna be your last.
It sure do.
And it can be as simple as deciding to go on a first date. And that is terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
A terrifying place to
Right.
live.
Right.
A terrifying time to be alive and
It
to be
is.
young. Like, I want to feel like the summer just started.
Right.
I want to feel like, man, I'm about to do a whole bunch of stuff, have a good time. I'm going to go to the beach. Not the beach, but the Lakeshore Drive. I'm in Chicago.
Yes, right, baby.
But North Beach.
Yeah. The beach.
I'm going to be out on the town doing but now it's just like this extra layer
Gotta be
of
careful.
fear.
Yeah.
And like, well, shoot, I got to make sure I bring so-and-so with me or make sure that this person, who else is going to be there? It's so messed up.
Yeah.
It is.
To
Yeah.
be alive and young at this time when there is so much violence.
Right. Right. And you know what? I wanted to also add something too. Because when you all said that they met at the bar,
Yeah. Met at the bar.
and if she did willingly go back to her house, or his house rather, who knows how long they had been in correspondence with
Yeah.
each other at
Yeah.
the bar. She might have frequented the bar regularly with her friends or whatever.
Yeah,
and
so it
seeing
may have
him,
felt like she knew
you
him
know,
better.
they felt comfortable to say, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, I will go out on the first date
Right.
with you. Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's right.
And so maybe that made her even feel more comfortable to say, well, I'm familiar with him.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
then,
Like,
you know,
it's...
And we don't know how
don't
she
know.
got to his
We
house.
don't.
don't.
We have no idea.
And we
We
may
don't.
never know.
We may never
So
know.
that's why jumping
'Cause-
to conclusions on
Right.
that or judging her for that
Right.
Right.
is completely unfounded.
We don't know.
It's completely unfounded to do that. Okay, y'all. So we have really talked about a lot. Our next episode, which will be next Wednesday, we have episodes every Wednesday. We will be continuing this series and following this case. And yeah, we're going to keep you updated. I think that this is a really good transition for us because on this show, on Ask Mama, we talk about relationships and what can happen.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing with this is not hypothetical. This is what did happen. And you need to get the lessons from real life and understand that it's not a situation where, oh, well, that can't happen to me.
Right.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
And we all need to be
Definitely.
super vigilant. And also, if you have young women in your life or young men in your life, you need to be talking to them and giving them as much advice as you can on how to live out here in this world today. Because just to assume that a 19-year-old knows what they should do in these types of situations, that's asinine to me. There's still, your mind is still developing all the way to 26.
That's right.
Right.
So let me just get that out. We need to give a lot more information. We need to be having real conversations with young people right now about how to protect themselves, about how to size people up even. Like,
Yeah.
I would, if I knew like a teenager or something, I would take them out and be like, so you see this dude right here? This is why he's a red flag. And I would break him all the way down right in front of them. So they understand the difference between a good guy and a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? And the slick stuff that people say
Yeah.
to lower your defenses. There's so much you have to
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
And if you're
It's
not born with a lot of common sense, now I will say I was born with a lot of common sense. I have an old soul. That's what everybody always say about me, and I understand.
Yeah.
So I'm different, and I understand that. But because I know that, I've always been the friend that would be like, girl, no, not that one.
Yeah.
There's something up with him. For this, that, and the third. We got to speak up, even in your friend groups.
Yeah.
But
We've
But we don't
talked a
have
lot
enough
about
of
that.
no. But you still got that person that thinks everybody's good, everybody's
Yep.
sweet. That's how I was as a young'un.
And that
So-
nothing bad can happen.
Oh, they don't mean whatever they say. That's what they meant. the world is not that way, and I had to learn the hard way, but I did learn. So everybody who knows better, we're obligated to teach these young people. Yeah. We're obligated to try to help them maneuver through. And when you see something, say something.
And judging them gets us nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not, I'm done with that. I have, on this subject alone, I've had to unfollow like 3 or 4 people because I refuse to sit here and judge or say anything negative towards this innocent, beautiful 19-year-old black girl. Let me just say this.
Bless
Who
her
was
Come on, run it. Run it.
set to graduate from Milwaukee Area Technical College with a degree in criminal justice,
Yes.
and was mulling over joining the U.S. Air Force.
Yes, she was.
She had worked at the East Side Eatery Pizza Shuttle for 3 years, where she was a customer and co-worker favorite.
Yep. That's
She
it.
was a good girl.
Yeah. She
I don't want to get emotional, but this was a good girl.
hard working.
Yes.
Going to school.
And you should be ashamed of yourself if you've been out here talking about her as if she did this to herself.
Right.
She did not do this to herself.
She did not.
A monster
That's right.
lured her to her death.
That's right.
Yes.
Whoever that monster is.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And at this point, I believe it's Maxwell Anderson until
Allegedly.
somebody proves to me it's not.
Right.
That's
well,
it.
he's been arrested for it, so.
Okay, so we're gonna continue this story. Like I said, next week we will have more information and more things to discuss on this case. If you have any questions about this case, please leave it in the comment section below this video. If you're watching on YouTube, and if you're just listening on Spotify, then you can DM us on Instagram or TikTok at Ask Mama Podcast, and we will continue this conversation next week. Before we go, for those who have been watching for a while, we do this thing where we spotlight Black-owned businesses, and so we're going to continue that, and we also give recommendations for just something to some escapism, okay? Because what we've been talking about is pretty heavy. So we give you some escapism through TV or movies, music, books, things you can do separate and apart from this conversation. So first we're going to start out with Black-owned businesses. Mama, you want to start us off?
I'm going to start out and say, make a visit to the Black Ensemble Theater. They have some of the best plays in the city. It's one running now. It's featuring the 80s, and the address is 4450 North Clark Street. So give them a try. I mean, it's wonderful. You'll have a ball. You love 80s music, you'll have a ball.
All right. Lamar, what you got?
My Black-owned business is Bella Nacelle at 520 North Michigan Avenue, 2nd floor, Chicago, Illinois 60611. It is a boutique Black-owned.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Check 'em
okay. My Black-owned business is actually a fitness center, and it's called PXM Fitness Center. It's in Andersonville/Edgewater at 5757 North Ridge Avenue. They have great group classes, especially if you're looking to like just have somebody, if you don't want to get a personal trainer, let's say, and you need like somebody to help you get through your workouts. You know, you don't want to be on your own. It's a great place to do group fitness classes, so I highly recommend it. Check them out. There's some great guys that run the place, and they're Black.
All right.
Young, gifted, and Black.
I don't know if that was in harmony, but hey, I put that
As long as you go low, you can always be. It's an octave.
That's right.
It's safe.
That's right.
Okay. But yeah, so now we're gonna get to recommendations. Let's do TV and movies first. Mama, what you got?
I've got Milli Vanilli. Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I told you about it.
It was one of the most heartbreaking. I learned so much because what I
Documentary.
thought was wrong. And one of the young men who is still living in the group, Fab said, he quoted something I thought was just brilliant. He said, lies take the elevator and the truth takes the stairs. I thought, how profound, Fab. It was a great movie. I would advise everybody to see it because in the past I laughed at some jokes about them. But after seeing this, I'm no longer
And for
laughing.
those who don't know who Milli Vanilli is,
No longer.
it's they were a pop singing group back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it was found out that they weren't actually singing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were lip singing and they were coerced by a producer
Oh,
in
gosh.
Germany, and it was a whole thing.
You got to see it.
And they went through a whole lot. And it's a rough story.
It's it,
But it's
you-
an amazing documentary.
Yeah, you'll learn because I was misinformed listening to the regular news, but
Yeah.
you see the whole story and you really have sympathy
They're
and
definitely
empathy
victims in that
for
story.
that group because they're not the villains I thought they were at all.
Lamar.
So my movie is a little throwback called The Butterfly Effect, starring Ashton Kutcher. And if you get a chance to see, because what was at the movies and the director's cut, it's two different endings.
Oh, wow.
So if you get a chance to see the director's cut, check that out. It's like, wow.
Okay. For me, we were working on this episode and I was just really emotionally drained, I would say, researching the Sade Robinson case. So I just needed a feel good. I needed a feel good movie to sit back, just not think and just enjoy. And I love the Ocean's 11 series. And Hulu has Ocean's 11, 12, and 13.
Wow.
And I just like binge watched two of them, and I'm watching Ocean's 13 tonight. So my recommendation is the Ocean's 11 series, and there's 3 movies. They're not making any other ones because my boy Bernie Mac is in heaven, and the director said that's it. There's not going to be any more. And I'm grateful for that. You talk about somebody who loves the franchise, but I'm very grateful that they stopped because I wouldn't want to see any kind of Ocean's 11 without Bernie in it. So unless they made a whole nother, like they did the women's version, that was fine. Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock. And that's cool because I like her, but I'm glad that they let it end with him in it. But it still feels good. It's the only thing I can watch with Bernie and not be sad.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna move on to books. Mama, what you got?
I've got a book that I've read called Defining Moments in Black History by the one and only Dick Gregory.
Okay.
Excellent book, of course, because Dick Gregory wrote it.
Yes.
That's the man.
I love him and I miss him madly.
It's the man with a plan.
Yes, he is.
Lamar?
My book is, I know you talked about The Outsiders not too long ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Miracle Boys.
Oh, yeah.
By Jacqueline Woodson.
Yeah.
Great book. Check it out.
It is
awesome.
All right. My book, I guess I was in my lawyer mode. And so my book is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, my God.
By Harper Lee. Atticus Finch.
Classic.
And that's all I got to say is it is one of the best books
Classic.
that honestly talk about racial injustice, that honestly talks about SA, when involved with race in this country, the Deep South, the destruction of innocence. I mean, all of it is in there, and it should be read by. This is one of the books that they try to ban today.
I know it is.
But every teenager and young adult should read To Kill a Mockingbird. So if you know one, let them know or give them this book as a gift. Okay, now let's finish off with music. What you got, Ma?
I've got You Put a Move on Me, Tamia, produced by Quincy Jones. Time after time.
Hey.
Woo! You put a
Tamia.
move.
You talking about a woman who needs her flowers.
Baby.
Oh my God.
She really does.
Woo!
She didn't play the game.
She
didn't
did
play
not.
the game. She said
She didn't
no.
want to.
You put a
She
She
move
not.
on
She
mine.
married Grant Hill
Yes.
and called it a
she's-
day. And I would have done the same,
Me
girl.
too, baby.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed with MS, if I'm not
Yes, that's
mistaken.
true. Yeah.
And baby, she said, "Listen, I don't
ain't
have no
skipped a
stress
beat.
Yeah.
because
She
I
living
got
her life.
a husband,
A real
who
one.
makes sure."
Yes.
Who
That's right.
put a move on my heart?
That's it.
Yes,
Hey,
he
She
did.
sang the brakes off of that.
That's a
She
talented
sang
woman right
that.
there. And she's currently on tour or about to go on tour with some other R&B acts. So I
Go,
think she'll be
Tamia.
coming to Chicago soon.
put a
So
move on
look
mine.
her
And
up.
she still can sing, baby.
Of course.
Woo! Yes,
Lamar.
sir.
Can. My song is Little Sims. It's called by Little Sims, called Woman, and it features Cleo Soul.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check it out.
It's
All
nice.
right now.
Well, I went a little old school.
Nothing wrong with
This
that.
is the Graffiti Bridge soundtrack with Prince.
Oh Lord.
It's just a lot of jams on that album. And I know a lot of people talk about Purple Rain. Of course, that's like my favorite album, but the Graffiti Bridge album is really, really dope. And I learned a lot as a guitar player listening to that. And so check it out. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Lot of good jams on there. And yes, that is the end of our recommendations for the week. As I said, next Wednesday we will have another episode continuing our series on the Sade Robinson case. I'm calling it that because I don't really like saying the guy's name. I just got to be honest. And the focus of this series is Sade Robinson. And so that's what we're going to keep it on.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
All right.
Mama, you want to...
One affirmation I'd like to leave is we love ourselves and we love our community.
That's right.
See you next time.
See y'all.
See you next time.
Peace.